Hello and welcome to the Limo Profit Show. I'm your host, Ed Stapleton Jr. If you're a small to mid-sized limo operator and you're struggling with marketing and bringing in leads and new clients into your business, then today I've got something really special for you. I am super excited to have as my guest today Bill Faeth of Inbound Marketing Agents. IMA is a digital marketing agency specializing in content marketing, SEO, web design, and a whole bunch more, and they're based down in Nashville, Tennessee. And you see, not only is Bill a badass marketing guru, but he also knows the limousine industry inside and out, having been a really successful operator himself. Bill exploded onto the scene in 2006 with Silver Oak Transportation and quickly became a person of influence in our industry. In about 18 months, he hit the $1 million a year in revenue mark. And in 2010, he even went on to sell his business to Grand Ave in Nashville. So, Bill, welcome to the show.
Hey, Ed. How are you? Thanks for having me today.
So excited to have you here. This is really exciting. So let's just get right into it. Why don't you tell me a little bit about how you got into this industry?
Wow, it's a long story. I'll try to keep short. Like a lot of business owners, literally just over 5 years ago, when I had Silver Oak Transportation, I was trying to figure out a way to get my website optimized on Google. First of all, to get to the first page, and then second of all, to get in the top 2 rankings. And unfortunately, I had some bad experiences with a couple of SEO companies, which drove me into my home office for about 48 straight hours until I found a solution that I fell in love with, which was called HubSpot. And it's a software platform that not only taught me how to do inbound marketing, but really how to do it organically and do it the right way, and just completely came immersed into the inbound marketing methodology. And basically, for the last 5 years, that's how I built Silver Oak and then Grand Avenue, and decided to do this full time just over a year ago.
Very nice. And you sold your business, Silver Oak, to Grand Ave in Nashville, correct, in 2010?
That is correct. Yep, we sold on December 31st of 2010, so it was a great New Year's present. And then I stayed with Grand Avenue for about the next 16 months, and actually departed April 18th of last year to launch Inbound Marketing Agents. And really kind of the inspiration factor was when I got into the limousine industry, George Jacobs took me under his wing and became my confidant and kind of mentor into the industry. And I know you've heard that many times from multiple different operators, but he was really the catalyst to really take me from a 3-car retail operator into the corporate side of the business. And kind of, I wanted to pay it forward. I mean, I was able to build a $6 million company based on inbound marketing, and really not having to spend a lot of money on advertising. And I wanted to share that with the limousine industry, and that's what we've been doing for the last 13 months.
That's great. So why don't you take me back 5 years ago and take me into that 48 hours in your home office where you obviously hit the pain point. Tell me about what happened with the previous SEO companies and what you found, and what happened over the next year to really catapult your company.
Yeah, well, I mean, back in the day, there was just all this spam on the internet and the emails that you would receive, and you still get them to today, is, 5 keywords for $3,000, guaranteed results to the first page of Google, or 10 keywords. And I had hired a company out of Atlanta to do 5 keywords for me. And, they used at the time, which weren't really negative SEO aspects, they are today, but they would get you to the first page. You would pay an exorbitant amount of money, and then when they stopped, you were done. You lost your rankings because it was all bogus backlinking strategies and link farms that they were using. And when you stopped paying them, they would turn it off. Well, I went through that. Then I went through another company that I thought was credible out of San Francisco, and the same results happened. And you know what? Burn me once, burn me twice. Call me an idiot if I do it 3 times, right? So I am a quadruple type A, obsessive compulsive, extremely aggressive person when it comes to, selling, building companies. Just anything that I do, I immerse myself into it. So I got on the internet and I searched and I searched and I searched. It was literally about a 48-hour period over a weekend. Didn't do anything with my wife, didn't do anything with my kids. I was going to find the right solution. And on Monday morning, I placed a cold call to HubSpot, and they're in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and got a sales rep named John Marcus. And HubSpot at that time was only 2 years old, and he showed me. I watched a video online. He took me through a 30-minute demonstration, and I immediately became a customer. I gave my credit card over the phone. I said, I want to do this. I want to learn how to do it. I want to take control. So typically what happens with HubSpot back in the day is, it's 48 hours to process your credit card, and then they're going to set up a consultation about a week later to get you kicked off. I said, John, the only contingency is I want my consultation call today. I want to get started now. Well, he made that happen, and literally it was all about blog, blog, blog. And my clients will understand when they hear the term that blogging is like jogging. Well, I'm 6'6", 270 pounds, a little bit rotund, you might call me, but I'm not real good at jogging. So I went off on a just absolute crazy sprint and took their word as gospel and started blogging, and blogging. Wrote 82 blog articles in the first 60 days that we were with HubSpot, and immediately saw SEO results start to climb. And believe me, I had no writing skills. I can't spell and I can't type. So those are probably the three worst things for somebody to start writing blogs, but it was effective, and HubSpot trained me how to do it because there was nobody like us to train people at that time. And we just saw the results. We are a very metrics-driven company today, and we learned that from HubSpot to base our advertising, our marketing decisions on the analytics that we're getting from the software. And it's all closed loop. So one of the big things that I learned is unit economics and how that needed to tie into our marketing and advertising decisions. What's our cost of customer acquisition? What's our average sales price? And what's the lifetime value of a customer? And if you make marketing and advertising decisions based on those unit economics, then you should have a pretty sound marketing campaign.
Why don't you stop for a second and explain what the cost of customer acquisition and client lifetime value are, just for those that don't know?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so cost of customer acquisition is your total cost for acquiring a customer. And what a lot of people do not factor in is, they may think, okay, well, you know what, I'm spending $2.28 a click on PPC, but I'm also in the affiliate game in the limousine industry, but they don't factor in their travel costs, their food costs, their alcohol costs, their show passes when they go to conventions or when they go to MPI. So you've really got to roll all of your marketing and advertising expenses into one number, and then you're going to divide that by the number of customers that you've acquired over an extended period of time. If you put a campaign together, and let's say it's a 30-day campaign, and it costs you X, and you acquired Y number of customers, divide Y into X, and that gives you your cost of customer acquisition. I think where a lot of limousine operators, I don't want to say that they fail, but they don't look at the lifetime value of customers. And the lifetime value is based upon how much money is the consumer going to spend with you over their lifetime of an existence as a client of yours. So I kind of use the analogy of selling an $800 wedding versus, or let's even just call it a $1,000 wedding, typically a one-time user, versus if you can acquire a corporate customer that spends $300 a month, and he's going to be a client of yours for a year or 2 years. So if I spend $300 a month with you over a year, my lifetime value is $3,600 to you over that year versus a one-time transaction of $1,000 for the wedding. The other thing it does is that lifetime value, when you start tracking these numbers, is going to help you forecast. And you can actually create a pipeline for, adding FTEs, which are full-time employees, chauffeurs, dispatchers, reservationists, also for fleet allocation and vehicle utilization. So really everything at the core that we do as a marketing company for our limousine clients is all about the unit economics. It's about cost of customer acquisition, your average sales price, your lifetime value, and then it's about ROI, return on investment.
Gotcha. Okay, so once you signed up with HubSpot, this is a couple of years ago now, and you are jazzed to go, you say you start blogging. First, let's describe what blogging is, and then what the heck are you writing? Was it 68 blog posts in 60 days?
82 blog posts in our first 60 days. And I know it sounds crazy, but that's just my personality.
Right, so why don't you tell us what exactly is blogging or blogging for business, and what exactly were you writing all that? What was that content that you wrote?
Yeah, so when we first started, there's many different ways to create content. As you well know, what you and I are doing on the phone today is creating a podcast. That's a piece of content. This can be used as a blog article. But the primary aspect that most people think of when they think about blogging is really kind of the old school journaling. A teenage girl writing in a journal about her blog and that type of stuff. Well, if you take that a step farther, and really the most critical component to blogging for business is take off your sales and your promotions hat as the owner or the marketer of the company and think as a customer. How much value can you add for your customers? What are they looking for? Well, a couple of the simple questions are, where do I meet my chauffeur? At the airport. Most everybody in the limousine industry does airport transfers. Every airport's different, whether it's O'Hare, Logan, LAX, what have you. Not everybody can be met at baggage claim. Some companies charge an additional fee. I may want to meet you at curbside or meet you in the parking garage or at ground transportation, or if you have a VIP greet, maybe you're going to be met at the gate and escorted. So answering those compelling questions and it's really easy to find out these questions, especially if you're detached and you have a CSR department or a dispatch department. Go to your customer service reps, go to your sales reps, go to your dispatchers and ask them the 10 most common questions that are asked. Well, how come I can only fit 4 medium-sized bags in the back of a limousine? Isn't the trunk bigger? The car is bigger. Those types of questions to educate the customer are very, very critical. And you can write this and just answer them in a blog. You don't have to be Thoreau, and have tremendous writing skills to be able to blog. You just need to not be afraid like I was. I was scared to death before I wrote my first blog article. And I'm a horrible speller, a horrible typer. I'm a hunt and pecker, maybe 30 words a minute when I started. And my mind goes 5 times faster than I could type. So you can imagine what my first blog articles looked like. But they were effective. And they were effective because I answered my customer questions. I provided them compelling content that they were looking for answers for. And then most importantly, the 3 letters that everybody wants, SEO, search engine optimization. That is the number one thing that people that want to improve their organic search rankings in Google, Bing, and Yahoo need to do is they need to blog, and they need to think about SEO in terms of what their customers actually type into a search engine and not just the city and limo as their keywords. So as an example, if you write a blog article about executive ground transportation in New York, the key phrase is executive ground transportation in New York. Now that's got 5 words in it for a key phrase. The search volume on a monthly basis is not going to be near as high as New York limo, but it's going to be extremely targeted. So the person that's typing that in and that finds you in that type of a search term is going to be much more apt to purchase from you. Does that make sense, Ed?
That makes complete sense. You actually, at a presentation that you did, I believe it was at Limo Digest, you gave an example from Doug Schwartz with the new Barclays Center.
Yes.
Can you go over that?
Yeah, actually it was, I think, late September. We had no idea that the Barclays Center was even under development at that time. And Doug, who's a client of ours, called and said, hey, you know what, we've got this new Barclays Center going in, and I think it was Beyonce, right around the 1st of October, or maybe September 30th, was opening it up with a concert. Well, we immediately went in, and we typically plan our content anywhere from 30 to 60 days in advance and surrounded around campaigns, but we made a paradigm shift and wrote 8 blog articles, all about different topics about the Barclays Center for Doug. And because timing was critical, it had not opened yet. There wasn't a lot of coverage. There wasn't a lot of optimization that was done. We went in and we wrote the articles, and the week before we went to the Limousine Digest show, I think it was the 1st or 2nd week of November, for 7 different keyword phrases, Doug was ranking between 5 and 7 of those articles on the first page of Google, from position number 1 to position number 8, all on the first page. So the goal by blogging using different keywords is not just to get one page, your home page, your fleet page, or even one blog onto the first page of Google. It's to flood the first page of Google with multiple articles targeting different keywords, so that way you have 8 opportunities to be found when somebody goes to do a Google search as opposed to just 1. And it proved to be extremely successful for Doug. If you sat in that seminar, you'll know that he stood up and talked for a few minutes about the success of that campaign that we put together for him. And that kind of leads back to a term called newsjacking. And that's going on in Nashville right now. We have a huge convention center that's opening in 2 weeks. And the people that have been and are optimizing and writing blog content about that convention center, it's called the Music City Center right now, are the ones that are going to get onto the first page of Google, and they're going to be able to stay there. It's not just about the SEO, though. If you are creating lead generation offers and using landing pages and inserting calls to actions into your blog content, then you're going to be able to generate leads for events going on at the Barclays Center or here at the Music City Center from DMCs, from event planners. It all ends up being extremely targeted because we're using those long-tailed key phrases.
Gotcha. So why don't you tell me a little bit about what a call to action is within a blog post and also how someone would generate leads with blog content?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the first things that we've actually reviewed over 600 limousine industry websites in the last year, and we don't see very many people using calls to action. And a call to action button is basically what you see on a website, and if you click on it, it takes you to a landing page. And the landing page is where you have a form to capture lead data. And that could be a first name, last name, email address. It could be how often do you travel, which is a qualifying question. If somebody says I travel once a year, they're not going to be near as valuable as the person that says I travel more often than I care to admit because they're traveling once or 2 times or even 3 times a week. So you can qualify that. But it all starts with the CTA, the call to action button. And the reason that we put them in our blogs is because the blogs are shareable on social media, bookmarking sites, other blogs. We get syndication for our clients. So the blogs become heavily shared, which is what causes it to go viral, whether it's on Facebook or Twitter or lctmag.com, whatever that would be. Having that call to action button on every page of your website is critical because you need an opportunity to convert your customers, not customers, but the visitors coming to your site to leads. So if you don't have calls to action, what happens is your customer comes to your website and they only have one option. They either look for the information, what fleet do you have, how do I make a reservation, what cities do you service, whatever that would be, but there's no way to capture their lead data. And the common misconception, Ed, is that a contact us page is our landing page. That's really not it. You've got to offer them something, what we call a premium offer, an ebook, a white paper, a video, even something as simple as a checklist, to the customer so we can give them a compelling piece of content that they're willing to give us in exchange for that piece of content, their contact information, so we can continue to market to them. The CTAs in a blog and on the homepage, they've got to pass what's called the blink test. And I think this is something that many limousine operators probably aren't aware of, is if they were actually running Google Analytics on their site, they would see in the research that we found within the limousine industry is the average bounce rate on a home page is 67%. And what that means is that somebody has hit the home page of your website and they leave without going to visit another page. And typically why that is because there's too much information on the home page of the website. They have flight tracking, they have fleet, they have a bunch of different pictures, they have a tremendous amount of text. And there's not a simple CTA to instruct the customers on where they want them to go. And the key there is where they want them to go, meaning the limousine operator. It could be a button that's a nice big red button that says online reservations, 5% discount. Or it might be something for a checklist, the top 10 questions to ask before, booking ground transportation. But you only have 5 to 8 seconds when somebody lands on your website to convince them to stay with you and take the next step. And that's the same with blogs as well as your homepage.
Gotcha. Let's stick with mistakes you've seen over your 600 evaluations on industry websites. What would be, say, the top 1, 2, 3 mistakes you're seeing on a vast majority of limousine sites, besides what you've mentioned so far?
Number 1 is not enough pages on the site. The average website has 12 pages in the limousine industry. And that the first indicator is that they're not blogging. Really most companies in the limousine industry, unless they're clients of ours, probably aren't blogging. So they're losing a tremendous benefit for social sharing for their content, building brand, building authority, trust lead generation and SEO. But the other thing is when we go and click on a services page and we see that they only have one page on their services. They might be in retail and in corporate, and they've got, worldwide on one heading, then they've got weddings, and they've got anniversaries, and they've got airport transportation, road shows, and it's all listed on one page. Well, that's not going to do them any good from an SEO standpoint, and it makes it very difficult for the consumer to be able to drill down and get enough information because it's all typically one small paragraph on a page. Well, that's not enough content for a visitor to actually consume and make an educated decision. So if the average operator took their services page and broke them out into each heading, road shows one page, weddings is another page, and then they put, and this is the key for SEO and also for a reader, a minimum of 200 words on their descriptions, they're going to be way ahead of the game in regards to SEO and supplying enough content for the visitor to actually potentially turn them into a customer.
Gotcha. Okay.
I think number 2 is really probably website design. And a lot of the Limousine sites that we see are very difficult to navigate. They're oversaturated with music and flash and flashing buttons and just way too much content crammed into one page. And what I always assimilate that to is take an 18-year-old high school graduate from Des Moines, Iowa, and drop them off at LaGuardia with a rental car and tell them to find a location in downtown Manhattan when they've never been to New York before, and send them at rush hour. And it's just overstimulating, it's confusing, it's way too difficult to be able to navigate, and the stress level goes up. That's what contributes to the bounce rates. Those are really the 2 biggest things that we see. And the third would be that they are not generating leads. Everybody wants instant gratification. That's why so many companies in our industry spend so much money on pay-per-click with Google, and they're optimizing for the wrong keywords. Pay-per-click does not work, period, in Google. If we get back to the unit economics of, cost of customer acquisition, your average sales price, we know what the average margins are, whether you're a 5-car operator or a 100-car operator. In New York or Phoenix or Miami. It does not work based on the conversion rates and what you're paying cost per click, whether it's $1 a click or it's $5 a click. Stop falling in love with PPC and put those resources elsewhere.
Got it. Do you think that not enough people are actually tracking what they're spending in marketing and really measuring out if they're getting a positive return on investment?
Absolutely. I mean, especially if, they're doing traditional marketing, whether it's magazine or radio, television, even if they're online, they don't have, a system in place to be able to track the analytics or the metrics and use what we call closed loop sales and marketing. And that's kind of the beauty of what we do is we use closed loop. So we track somebody that comes into your website from Twitter or Facebook or a blog article or a referral site or direct traffic, organic. We know what keyword it is. We know what tweet it came from. We know what website it came from. And not only do we capture their lead data, but we get their behavior for the content they're consuming. And most importantly, we can track them all the way to becoming a customer. So we can attribute that ROI for every single campaign that we do. Most people don't know that. I mean, you're relying on tap scan numbers on the radio. You're relying on Nielsen numbers, and it's all about brand and reach and cost per point. Magazines the same way. Really, any of that external stuff comes down to branding, which is a term that was thought up by a marketer about 47 years ago because they couldn't give you measurable results. So right. Getting a grasp on really what your ROI is, in my opinion, is something that's extremely critical. And this is what we tell our customers. When they start with us, we want them to start small, meaning a small budget. Let us show you the ROI, and then you can determine if you want to increase your budget. But if we're not giving you a positive ROI, why would you want to invest more money with us? Because at the end of the day, it's all about putting more butts in the seats in cars and increasing that lifetime value. And really one of the biggest things that I think that I do not see that happens is marketing to your existing client base and getting a larger share of their wallet. It's not always about new customer acquisition. It's typically 3 times more cost effective to gain more wallet share with your existing customers than it is to bring in new customers.
Absolutely. And the lowest hanging fruit is to go after existing clients and also to generate referrals from there. And, under the methodology that birds of a feather flock together, you're going to get like-minded people coming from your best clients. So it definitely pays to continue to market to them ongoing. Now, is there any way you can use content marketing to continue to market to your existing clientele?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, a lot of the premium offers that are generated are done for existing clients as well as prospects for prospective customers. One of the most important facets, and we wrote a blog article about this a few months back, is why your newsletter sucks. Which is a pretty descriptive title, but not just in the Limousine company, but most people from an email marketing standpoint are still sending out monthly newsletters, and it's basically an advertorial for their new services. It's all about me, meaning our company. Well, if you flip that methodology around and produce content that your customers are actually interested in, and once again, get rid of the sales speak and the self-promotion and give them value, you're going to be able to get them deeper ingrained into your business and be able to get more market share. One thing that I see a lot of is a lot of our customers are corporate. Well, what happens when Mr. CEO's daughter is graduating from high school and they need a car to go to graduation or even prom, or in the middle of prom season right now? They may want a sedan or an SUV, even if you don't have limousines. And it kind of comes down to that marketing component to be able to, get that bigger share of the wallet. And the same thing's on reverse for a retail-based, company that really should be focusing on both sides of the equation if it's plausible. And I know a lot of people say, well, I'm corporate, I can't focus on retail. Well, it's very, very simple to be able to do it. And, we have corporate and retail customers, and one of them, Empire CLS, one of the largest limousine companies in the world. It doesn't matter. They are strictly a corporate-driven company, but we actually market retail services for them to their existing client base, so they just know that they're available when they need them.
Gotcha. Okay. So what would be the advice you'd give to a new operator? Let's say they've got an existing website that kind of falls under the not-so-good category they described earlier. What would be your advice to them to get moving in the right direction?
I think a lot of that...
limited budget.
Yeah, that's a great question. That's what I was going to say, is a lot of that comes down to budget. So if they have a limited budget, I would say to learn as much as you can. Subscribe to our blog, subscribe to a HubSpot blog, to Search Engine Land, to a lot of the marketing blogs that are out there, so you can learn on your own and get great content that will teach you how to do it, and really go through the educational process first. Then the second component, and this is really what I think is extremely critical that we haven't touched on yet, and that is defining your buyer personas. And a buyer persona is a snapshot of your ideal customer. It could be a travel manager. It could be a wedding planner. It could be a DMC, all really 3 different buyer personas. They have different issues that they need addressed, potentially different communication channels, different vehicle utilizations. So identify the 2 or 3 of those buyer personas that you want to market to. And once you have those buyer personas, let's find out where they populate online, because online marketing, inbound marketing, is 66% less on a cost per lead than traditional marketing. And the easiest place to be able to target them, find them, turn them into advocates or evangelists for your company and convert them to customers is via social media. That's where I would recommend people start. But you've got to have the educational component and know how to do it first and how to do it correctly. I did a screencast back in October, strictly for the limousine industry, on how to leverage LinkedIn groups. And we distributed it to the entire industry, and we still got it available on our website. But even to today, the only clients that I see, or the only people that I see utilizing LinkedIn groups, and that's the number 1 lead generation source for corporate B2B business in the limousine industry, is our clients. So I would suggest that they start with social media. It's not all just Facebook and Twitter. LinkedIn for limousine companies is extremely valuable. if you know how to use it. And then the second component I would say is start blogging, because it's free and it's just the time that it takes you to write an article or do a podcast like we're doing now or create a short video. And you can do it on your own schedule. Those are the two biggest things that I see are missing, and there's not a whole lot of cost associated with it.
Gotcha. Okay. So let's talk about social media for a second. What are the biggest mistakes you're seeing in social media amongst the limousine operators out there?
One is not targeting their potential customers or knowing what channels to utilize. So as an example, we just talked about LinkedIn for B2B, and it's not just your news feed and posting stuff in your news feed, it's being active in LinkedIn groups. On the flip side of that, let's talk about retail. If somebody's in the wedding business, you might want to target LinkedIn groups for wedding planners or even, events or venues, but most importantly, put your great cars, especially if you have vintage vehicles or limousines and you're taking photos at these weddings, or you have relationships with a photographer, put those onto Facebook, but more importantly, put them onto Pinterest and start a Pinterest board, because that is where your brides-to-be are looking for dresses, they're looking for cakes, they're looking for recipes for food, and that's also where your wedding planners are hanging out. And that's what I mean by identifying the different social channels on where your prospects are populating online. 82% of Pinterest users are female. So it's also great for DMCs and event planners, because 63% of DMCs and event planners, according to MPI, are female. So it's locating those correct channels and then really just building out your boards. And the biggest mistake that I see is that they're not targeting the channels and using them appropriately.
Okay, so do you have any cool tips or tricks or anything else you'd like to add?
Cool tips or tricks? Offhand, no, but I would tell people if they want... No, that's fine, but subscribe to our blog, our inboundmarketingagents.com blog. Every day we post an article.
I would agree.
That is
good stuff.
All about what they can do, and it's not just from me, it's from our entire team to give away as much information as we can. I think that really the most important thing I would say is, if you're not active on social media, get onto social media today. Start with Facebook, migrate into Twitter. You don't need to be on every single channel. You don't need Google+, Pinterest, Vine, LinkedIn, YouTube, everything. Start with one or two channels and take advantage of it. I can tell you, Ed, that our number one source of traffic that we see coming in and lead generation over the last 13 months for us as a company, meaning IMA, and also our clients, is social media. And it's coming mostly from the three primary channels that we've talked about today, which is LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter. And I think a lot of people, once again, just like blogging, are scared of it. Don't be scared. Jump in and, get off to the edge of the diving board and just jump. The water's not that cold. It's pretty easy to learn. If you are on social media, be consistent. Don't Facebook bomb and Twitter bomb people. And what that means is don't post 3, 4, 5, 6 posts all within a 5-minute period. There's free apps that are out there, from Hootsuite to TweetDeck to Sprout Social, even scheduling on Facebook now, to where you can schedule it and be consistent. If you're just going to do Facebook and Twitter, do 2 to 3 posts per day on Facebook and 5 to 7 posts per day on Twitter, and spread them out.
Gotcha. And these posts, are you making offers in these posts? Are you giving out, like you said, premium offers? What exactly are you posting in these posts?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing, most of the small operators are probably not going to have offers that are generated, so just start engaging and, putting content out there and, building your fan base on whatever platforms you're going to utilize. And it takes a little bit of effort. You've got to locate these people, and you've got to start a conversation with them. If you do have offers, and when we use the term offer, we're not talking about coupons and discounts and things of that nature. Typically, we're talking about, something. It could be a blog article. Yeah, put an image up on Facebook and link to it. So that way, if somebody likes the image or they like your heading, they're going to be driven back to your website. Same thing on Twitter. But you don't want to be over self-promoting. You kind of want to mix that in, and then you want to engage with your kitten photos or, your Happy Monday type of posts. Remember, it is about community. It is about engagement. but it's also a lead generation component as well. So if you have a really good mix, and once again, you don't want to be self-promotional. It's not an advertising tool. But if you have compelling content to be able to share, you're going to see a much higher benefit out of it.
Good stuff. Bill, if people want to reach you, how do they get a hold of you?
You can email me at Bill@Inbound Marketing Agents. You can hit me up on Twitter, which is bfaeth, Faeth. Our website is inboundmarketingagents.com.
Good stuff. And I would highly recommend you guys check out their blog. They've got tons and tons of free resources, checklists, ebooks, editorial calendars, some really, really great stuff they're putting out on a daily basis. So I urge you guys to check that out. Bill, this has been great. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Ed. I appreciate you having me on.
Anytime. All right. Have a great day. Thank you.